Howdy, how's it going? It's your boy TN Smooth back here with another video today. Today we are going to be doing Week 9, so my Week 9 Top 25 College Football Poll. Now I am recording this once again on a Monday. I usually try to do it on Saturday or Sunday nights, but this week and then last week I've been doing it on Monday, so the AP poll's already out, which is kind of good for me because I can kind of tell you how close we are to getting close to the AP poll rankings here. So I am going to go on and put my poll up on the screen. If you want to see last week's, you can go and watch the last video, or if you go over to my TikTok, you can see it there because I post it on there every week. Little hint too, I also post on my TikTok probably at anywhere from an hour to almost a day early sometimes, these polls. Of course, I do the more in-depth video over here on the YouTube, but I just post a quick little picture over there so that everyone can see the rankings over there as well. So I'm going to go and throw this on the screen here. So this is my Week 9 Top 25 poll, and there you go. So it looks a little bit similar to last week. At least the top 6 teams do. Top 6 teams didn't move at all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they all won. They all staying where they were. They're not moving at all. So I'll start at the top. Sometimes I start at the top, sometimes I start at the bottom. Today, I'm going to start at the top because I didn't move any of these teams around, the first 6 teams. So I feel like it can go a little bit quicker this way, and then we can get into the juicy stuff kind of at the end here. Because down in the 18 to 25 range, we got some teams coming in that maybe people didn't expect to be ranked. So number 1, I've got Georgia. Plain and simple, Georgia. I don't even think they had a game. No, they did not. So they did not have a game. So they were on a bye week. So they kind of just stay there by default. They didn't lose. They didn't win. They're on a bye week. So they stay at number 1 by default. No Ohio State, nor Tennessee, nor Michigan did anything impressive enough to make anybody shift around or take the number 1 spot from Georgia or anything like that. Ohio State had a really good victory. I believe it was 54-10 over Iowa. Yes, they beat them 54-10. Really good win. Iowa's not that good. It was at home for Ohio State. Still don't feel like it's good enough to take the number 1 spot from Georgia. Just feel like leaving them where they were. So Georgia's number 1. They're on a bye week. This week they're going to play Florida down in Jacksonville. That will be a good game to watch. So Georgia stays at the number 1 spot. Ohio State stays at the number 2 spot after their win over Iowa. Now, if this game was close, then and Tennessee blew out their team, then maybe I would, consider switching around or something. But it wasn't close. They blew them out 54-10 as expected, and Iowa's not a really good team anyway. So Ohio State just keeps their position there at number 2 spot. Number 3 is Tennessee still. Tennessee kept their number 3 spot. This is their 2nd week in a row now being ranked number 3 in the top 4 here. They played UT Martin at home, and it was 52-7 at halftime. And everybody thought, 70, 80 points, whatever. They came out and they played their backups. They played like so far down the depth chart. And they only scored, I believe, 13 points in the second half. And the final score in that one was 65-24. Was a little shocked and a little scary that they allowed 24 points by them, but it was only 7 at halftime. They put in backups, 3rd or 4th string on the depth chart. So, allowing 24 points, I guess, really only 17 there in the second half by the 3rd or 4th string defense. So that's not really too bad, not bad enough to knock them down or anything like that. So they keep the number 3 spot. That's the most points scored by them in a game actually since 2000. Pretty impressive stuff that they're doing there. Obviously, I'm a Vols fan. When I do this ranking, I try to be unbiased as possible. So, obviously Vols fans, we don't really like Alabama, don't really like Georgia, whatever. But as you see, I've had Georgia in the number 1 spot more than any other team this year. I've only moved them down once, I think, and that was after they had the Missouri game, and it was a little bit of a struggle. I moved them down to 3, and then after Alabama had a struggle, I moved them back up to 1. So only teams I've had at number 1 spot this year is Georgia and Alabama. Ohio State's kind of close. I know Ohio State fans not really happy about that. They're kind of close. I just I need to see them beat someone actually good. I'm not saying that they haven't played anybody. I'm not trying to play that role there. But they had a good win over Notre Dame. that was the beginning of the year, but I still think it was a good win for their program. And they're gonna face Michigan later on in the year. So everybody, complaining about them not being number one, they have a chance to get there. Tennessee's going to play Georgia in 2 weeks. If they knock them off, they might take the number one spot because they're beating the number one team. But then Michigan's going to play Ohio State, and if Ohio State wins that game and Tennessee gets upset or has a close game against an unranked team or whatever, then that could flip-flop. Ohio State could go to number one. But as of now, it's Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Tennessee 3. And Tennessee will have a game against Kentucky this week. Going to be a night game down at Neyland Stadium. So that's going to be another test, really. They beat Alabama, they beat LSU. But Kentucky, I think, is still has a chance at beating Tennessee. So that's going to be a game that they have to keep their focus on, and they have to come in playing 60 minutes of football and not playing 59, 58, nothing. They got to play the full 60 minutes, and they got to close that game out because you don't want to get upset there because then your rankings are going to fall to probably, if it's in the top 10, it's going to be 9 or 10. If it's out of the top 10, it's going to be 12, 13, 14 maybe even. So just because, winning, you beat LSU, you beat Alabama, you're expected to beat Kentucky. Even though Kentucky's a good program, it's going to be a home game. It's going to be a night game. They're talking about wearing their black jerseys, checkering the stadium orange and black. That would be so cool to see. But you've got to win that game. I'm a Vols fan, but if Tennessee loses that game, they will go down in my ranking quite a bit, at least 4 or 5 spots, because all these other teams keep winning. Michigan, we need to talk about Michigan here. They're at number 4, right? Michigan, I believe, they had a bye week as well. I don't believe they played anyone. Excuse me there. So Michigan, they didn't play anyone. They had a bye week. This week, I'm not sure who Michigan plays. I'm going to find out here real quick. Michigan plays Michigan State at home. So they're unranked, but it's still a team that they need to beat, and it's kind of like the same spot that Tennessee's in. Tennessee's in a spot where they're playing Kentucky. Now, Kentucky is ranked. Even in the AP poll, they're ranked. But if they lose that game, they're still going to go down in the rankings a little bit. Michigan, they need to win this game too. Keep that number 4 spot. So as long as Michigan wins, I'm keeping them in at 4. Michigan and Clemson, they've been swapped around in the AP poll a little bit. I've had Michigan at 4 and Clemson at 5 for about 3 or 4 weeks now. I feel like Michigan always finds a way to be good in the regular season, but in championships and in playoffs, they don't really seem that good. So this year may be different, but as of now, I think Michigan is a better program, and their wins are more impressive to be ranked number 4 over Clemson there. Clemson, I got at number 5. Clemson was number 5 last week. They beat Syracuse. They almost lost, though. They almost lost to Syracuse there. They came back in the second half, and they won the game 27-21 over number 14 at the time, Syracuse. So Clemson stays at number 5. Number 6, I got Alabama. So Alabama, they had a game against Mississippi State. They won that game 30-6. For the longest time, they had Mississippi State shut out, no points at all. But they did finish business there at home, and they beat them. They were ranked 24, I believe, at the time. And they were ranked in my poll last week, I think, 23 or 24. And, no, they were 24 in my poll last week, yeah. So Alabama beats them. They fall out of my rankings now. And Alabama keeps their number 6 spot there. Number 7 is TCU. TCU had a game against Kansas State, and they beat them 38-28. Kansas State's a ranked team, so that's good enough to bump them up 1. Now, they bumped up 1 because Ole Miss lost to LSU. So Ole Miss was number 7 previously in my poll. Or I think they were number 7. They bumped down. And so they bumped down, and then TCU bumps up 1 spot. I had them number they bump up 2. I had them number 9 previously. So TCU's number 7 now. Oregon also got bumped up because of that Ole Miss loss. Oregon played UCLA, who was ranked 1 spot higher than them at the time, and they beat them 45-30. So Oregon bumps up to number 8. Oklahoma State bumps up to number 9. They had a win over Texas, who was ranked in my poll last week as well. I bumped them out as well. But they had a win over Texas, 41-34. So Ohio State bumps up to number 9 there. UCS bumps up to number 10. UCS, I don't believe they had a game last week, so they kind of just bumped up by default there. They were I think I had them at number 11 before they bump up number 10. Wake Forest, I have at number 11. Don't believe they played anyone last week either. I believe they were on a bye week. Number 12, I have Utah. I believe they were on a bye week as well. They kind of bumped up by default. We had a lot of people that bumped up by default this week. Number 13 is Ole Miss. Ole Miss had a game against LSU, and they lost. This is a game they should have won. I know it was at LSU. It was at 3:30. If it was at a night game, I can only imagine what might have happened with that. But Ole Miss won this game, and I bumped them in quite a bit here because Ole Miss had this game. They were winning 20 or 17-3 at one point. And I know that's not a lead where you would say, oh, it's over. But obviously it wasn't over because LSU came back from that 17-3 deficit. And they came back and won that game 45-20. To me, that's very impressive. To be down, 17-3, and then you come back, and you come back on the team, and you score 42 points to their 3, 42-3. So just think if this game was nothing to nothing, and nothing to nothing. And they started from that point where they were down 17-3 and went on, they would have won that game 42-3. That's just insane to me. They completely shut Ole Miss out. Not shut them out, but they completely shut them down. In the second half for sure. I think at halftime it was 24-20, and they completely shut them down. They won that game 45-20. That's a very good win for LSU. I know some LSU fans and Brian Kelly and stuff is getting up now and they're talking and stuff. They're saying, I saw them post something about October's for pretenders, November's for contenders. Well, LSU, you won this game in October, so I don't know if that's you pretending then, because you won this game in October. LSU has a habit to start talking before they actually get going somewhere. They've had this good win. Great. You beat Ole Miss. That was a good win. Now, Ole Miss might have been overrated, maybe not. But all I know is they were in the top 8, and you beat them. So, congratulations. But whether they were overrated or not, it doesn't matter. They were in the top 8, and you beat them while they were in the top 8. So, that's a good win for you. But you still have Alabama coming up. So, I don't know what all this talk is that they're going to win the West or whatever. I don't think that they're going to beat Alabama. Now, I hope and pray that you do. If LSU beats Alabama, I'm going to be happy, real happy. Because if Tennessee beats Georgia, Tennessee most likely, as long as they can get Kentucky and Georgia, they're going to go to the SEC championship. And I would absolutely love to either play Ole Miss or LSU. I don't want to play Alabama again. No way. Because I don't think that Tennessee beats Alabama a second time. I don't think it will happen. But just to make the SEC championship for me as a Vols fan, I've been a Vols fan since they've been 3-9, 4-8, whatever. Butch Stone, Derek Dooley, all that stuff. So we lose, we don't go to the SEC championship. I'm not going to be that disappointed. I'm going to be disappointed because we've been having a good year, so I'm going to be a little bit upset about that. But as long as we go, it ain't going to bother me anyway. Obviously, I want to win it, but the best chance for them to win it is Ole Miss or LSU. I think if they play LSU again, they beat 40-13. I don't care, if it's the beginning of the year or if it's the end of the year. 40-13 at your own stadium is pretty sad. And then, struggle wins. Lost to Florida State. Where's Florida State? Because they're not in the top 25. They haven't been all year besides the beginning of the year. So, I just, LSU needs to win another game or two before they start talking. Now, I know might be one to talk. Tennessee fans go all up about it too. I know there's some Tennessee fans now that think that Tennessee's going to win the SEC championship. They think that they win the national championship, whatever. I'm not like that. I don't think that's going to happen. My honest prediction before the season even started for Tennessee, and I know I'm getting off track here, but my honest prediction was 8-4. That's what I thought. 8-4. It'd be good if you go 9-3, and then a bowl win puts you at 10 wins. That's what I thought. Never did I think that we would be 7-0. I didn't think we would beat LSU. I didn't think that we would beat Alabama, and I surely didn't think that we would beat Georgia. We haven't beat Georgia yet, but we have a little bit more of a chance now than we did at the beginning of the year. So I didn't even know if we'd beat Kentucky, honestly. and that we're going to see that on Saturday. So we're going to see if that happens or not. But and now that we're where we are, we're 7-0. I think that it's a good possibility that Tennessee can go to the SEC championship. If it's against LSU, I absolutely think Tennessee will win it. If it's against Ole Miss, I think it will be maybe a back and forth game, but I think at the end Tennessee will probably find a way to win it. If it's against Alabama, they ain't winning it. I don't think so. So obviously for you LSU, I want you to beat Alabama. I want you to. But LSU's talking a lot of stuff now just because they beat Ole Miss. So that's kind of what I had to say about that. I know it's a good win. I know it is. It's a good win for your program, and congratulations on that. Might not be one to talk because Tennessee beat Alabama, and our fans went wild for that. So, but that's just kind of my rant on that. Now, like I said, Ole Miss is at 13 because of that loss from LSU, and then moving on to Penn State here. Penn State had a game against Minnesota, and they beat them 45-17. So they get the number 14 spot. I previously had them at 15 or 16, so I bumped up 1 or 2 spots there. UCLA had a loss. They lost to Oregon, so I bumped them down to number 15. Illinois is number 16. I believe they were on a bye week, so they kind of just got bumped up by default there. Syracuse had a loss to Clemson, bumps them down to number 17. And then back to Ole Miss. Now, I want to backtrack real quick, back to Syracuse real quick. I know that I said, they lost to Clemson, bumps it down to 17. That's great. But Syracuse is still a good team, I think. I think they still got some good. I think they still got some good teams on their schedule to play, and I think they could still find themselves ranked a little bit higher. They're going to play Notre Dame this week. If they can win that game, Notre Dame's not ranked, but that's still going to be a good win for them. They have Pittsburgh. They were a ranked team, so if they can win that game, that would be good for them. But I just think that Clemson is still a pretty good team. They only have 1 loss on their record. They play Florida State at the end of the year. Then they play Wake Forest, which is a ranked team. So Syracuse still has a possibility to break the top, 12, maybe even 10, depending on what happens with the top 10 teams by the end of the year. Realistically, as long as Syracuse can beat Wake Forest and Florida State and Notre Dame, I could see Wake Forest finishing the year at 11 or 12 with a pretty good ball game. So that's good for their program. They might even still have a chance to win the ACC Atlantic and go to the ACC Championship. But they would need to basically win the rest of these games. They need to beat Pittsburgh. They need to beat Florida State. They need to beat Wake Forest. And then Boston College. But I think they're still a good program. At 18, I have LSU. Obviously, we know they beat Ole Miss. I had them at 25 previously. In the AP poll, they weren't even ranked this week. And the AP poll bring them in at number 18. So LSU is one of these teams, and I'm kind of getting disappointed when they win, just because LSU is in the ranking and then they're out, and then they're in and then they're out, and then they keep going in and out. Now, like I said last week, they weren't in the AP poll, but they were the week before. And last week for me, they were in my rankings, and they were the week before. So I haven't had to put them in and out as much because I've kind of just kept them in. They lost last week, and I still had them at that number 25 spot there. I moved them up to 18 after their win. They weren't even ranked in the AP poll, but they were receiving votes to be ranked. So the AP poll brought them in at the number 18 spot as well. So they're ranked exactly where they are in the AP poll and in my poll here. They might even go up a little bit more, depending on what happens and depending on how they play. I think they play. No, they already had that game against Ole Miss there. So I think LSU this week is on a bye week. Yep, they are. And then they have a game against Alabama. You beat Alabama, and I'm gonna put you up pretty darn high. So they still have a chance to go up farther, but as of now they're at 18. It's getting later and later in the year though. So if you are going to get in that top 10, you need to kind of start now. And I think that Alabama game is your best shot at it. Number 19, I got Kentucky. Kentucky has a game against Tennessee this week. They are currently 5-2. They're looking to become bowl eligible. Even if they don't win this game, I still think they become bowl eligible. I think if they don't win this game, I think they finish the year at least 8-4, maybe even 9-3. Might win out. Number 20, I got North Carolina. North Carolina plays Pittsburgh this week, so we'll see how that goes. They're currently 6-1. At number 21, I got NC State. Now, NC State is ranked number 24 in the AP poll, but I got them at 21 here. They have a game against Virginia Tech. That game is on Thursday, I believe, and they are currently 5-2. At number 22, I got Cincinnati. They have a game against UCF. They're currently 6-1. At number 23, now I have Tulane. They're number 23 in the AP poll, but last week they were number 25. They already bring them in last week. I did not bring Tulane in to my rankings last week. But I kicked some people out this week, Texas and a few others, and I needed some more teams to bring in. I'll bring in 3 new teams this week, actually. And they're all right here, 23, 24, 25. I bring in Tulane, South Carolina, and Liberty. Now, Tulane, I bring in at number 23 because I couldn't ignore the record. Even if it is against some, teams that might not be good in some people's opinion, I can't ignore the record. They're 7-1, and they're in the American Athletic Conference. Now they do have a game against SMU coming up, and it says on here that it's on the 17th of November. I couldn't imagine that they're not going to play another game until then. No, yeah, so they just messed that up. They play Tulsa this week, or not this week. They're on a bye week this week. They play Tulsa next week. Then they play UCF, then SMU, and their last game of the year is going to be ranked up against Cincinnati there, which is a ranked team currently. So if they're still a ranked team then, that'll be a good win for them to bump them up a little bit more even. But Tulane is at number 23 here. Pretty good record at 7-1. So I felt like it was time to bring them on. So I'll bring them on this week. This is their first week entering my poll. Number 24, I got South Carolina. I debated about bringing South Carolina in, I think, last week. But they upset Kentucky. Good win for them. And then this week, really, I consider that an upset too. They upset Texas A&M. It was at home. It was a night game. Yada, 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 whatever. But I still think that's a good win for their program. Texas A&M was 3-3. They go down to 3-4 now. They might not even make a bowl game. So, pretty soon it's not even going to be considered really an upset. Don't even know if people really consider this an upset. I kind of did because of kind of where you expected at the beginning of the year where we expected Texas A&M to be versus where we expected South Carolina to be. I mean, obviously that went up and down throughout the year, and it's went down more and more. You probably expect a little bit more out of South Carolina now than you do Texas A&M. But I still think that was if it's not an upset, that was still a good win for them. I'm not even sure who was picked to win that game, but I know that was a good win for them in their program, so I put them in at number 24 here. They're number 25 in the AP poll. I got them in at number 24. They have a game against Missouri this week, so we'll see how they do with that. They're currently 5-2, and they're going to play Tennessee later on in the year, so they have a good chance. If they can upset them, they have a great chance to go up even farther, because at that point I'd have to put them up pretty far because you're beating the top 5 team in the country. Then you've already upset Kentucky. You've beat Texas A&M. So if they beat Tennessee, they have to go up. I don't know exactly where because it would depend on what other games happen, but they would have to go up at least 17, 16, 15, something like that. As of now, they're 24, and I think that they're deserving of that. Number 25, I got Liberty. Liberty is not ranked in the AP poll, but they are receiving votes. They're receiving the second most votes. Texas is receiving votes, and then Liberty, and then Oregon State. And then you got some others there. You got Arkansas, Washington, UTSA, and Florida State all receiving 1 vote there. But Liberty receiving 35 votes, but they're still not in yet. I got Liberty in my AP poll, and I got them in at number 25. I think they're deserving of that, and I think they've been playing good as well. So I got them coming in at number 25. We'll see what happens with them throughout the year, kind of what happens and how they play. I think they do have a bye week this week, and then the next week they play Arkansas. Now, if they can beat Arkansas, I know Arkansas is not ranked or anything like that, but Arkansas is still a program that should probably beat them. I mean, you're in the SEC and stuff. You shouldn't be getting beat by teams normally like Liberty and stuff. So, and it's at Arkansas, so if Liberty wins against them, they're going to bump up a little bit more even. They're going to have a week to prepare and then come out next week, and we'll see what they can do against them. But this has been it in my Week 8 Top 25. I hope you enjoyed it. If you disagree with any of these rankings, like I always say, let me know below. Make sure you subscribe and like this video and share it with your friends and family, whatever. And I'll see you in the next one. Like I said, if you disagree, let me know why, because, just saying, oh, why do you have this team over this team? That's not telling me why I shouldn't. Give me a reason why I shouldn't, and maybe we can take that into consideration. I like to hear other people's opinions as well. So this has been your boy T and Smooth saying peace, and thank you for stopping by.